So this whole thing got triggered by 10 Cloverfield Lane. You ever seen it? Stupid movie. Well, the first part was pretty good. I think it's dumb towards the end. But anyway, came out in 2016. And I didn't catch this whenever I watched it, whenever it came out a couple years ago. I just rewatched it a few days ago. And it just triggered the whole thing that got me on this, man. And you're going to see a whole boatload of just crazy coincidences. All right, I no longer think that Friday the 13th has anything to do with, a mama's boy who's pissed off that his mom's head got knocked off her shoulder by some crazy camp counselor. And I think that whole series has everything to do with pointing to a time, like a date and time. I really do. And let me show you why. So let's talk about Friday first of all. Friday in the week is represented by the planet Venus. Planet Venus, huge. All right, Venus, Jesus, Lucifer, the morning star, all synonymous, all known by the planet Venus. And we've been talking about 2020 being huge anyway, December 2020 being huge with the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. But we've also been talking about the Venus transit lately too, as well. And the dance that it's currently doing over our heads, and why specifically things have just been batshit crazy since September, and are probably going to get even crazier throughout December, because it's currently making its big last swoop around to finish its cycle, its transit. So real quick recap. On 6 June 2012, a transit of Venus occurred. This rare astronomical event, when Venus passes directly in front of the Sun and appears as a large black dot on its surface, slowly moving from one side to the other in about 3 hours, has only happened 8 times since the invention of the telescope. This post talks about the transit of Venus and why it's been so important to the development of astronomy. So 2012, 8 years, 8 times it's happened. All right, and here's the pattern it makes. We know how important this symbol is, all this, right? So we don't even need to get into that. So right now we're here, September 2018, and here it comes on its final home stretch to finish May to August in 2020. Now, why the 13th? Because here's the thing. This transit started in June of 2012. It's going to end in June of 2020. The series, Friday the 13th, the whole thing takes place during summertime at a summer camp. Well, wouldn't you know it, Friday, Venus, that's when the super huge, important, rare transit started, was during the summertime. And also, wouldn't you know it, it ends on the year of a Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, which happened every 20 years, right? So the last one happened in 2000, and wouldn't you know it, the one before that happened when? In 1980. So the series also launched the year of a Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. So that got me thinking, because Friday is the word that I'll show you why, where that came from, got me started in all this. So I said, okay, why the 13th then? So where's the 13th come from? Well, right here. Here's why. One numerical coincidence is that in the time it takes the Earth to complete 8 orbits of the Sun, Venus completes almost exactly 13 orbits, or to put it another way, 8 Earth years is equal to almost exactly 13 Venus years. So 13 is there to signify the end of a cycle. Well, when you know it, that's in 2020. And so Friday in Cloverfield, 2016, talks about an attack happening on the United States. It happened when? On a Friday. And then I keep an open mind to the X-Files, man, because there's nothing you can't argue. It's what happened. That show, 6 months before 9/11, released an episode where the whole plot of the episode, where word for word, it's in the episode. I'm sure you've seen it. You probably, if you haven't, just go to YouTube, type in The Lone Gunman, The X-Files, 9/11. And 6 months before 9/11, one of the plot points in the episode that aired was about hijackers taking airplanes and crashing them into the World Trade Center. So whenever the X-Files starts talking about this kind of shit, I start listening. And whenever that show was rebooted, and when 2016, just like this movie, in the premiere episode, its 10th season, it talked about the takeover of America, an attack on America, and they say it'll probably start on a Friday. The banks will announce a security action, and digital money will disappear, bank holidays, blah, blah, blah. And then you got a lot of this on top of it all, man. The real icing on the cake with all this. About 20 years before all this, in the movie The X-Files, a plague to end all plagues, a silent weapon for a quiet war, a planned Armageddon, another global attack as well as a big attack on America. It will happen on a holiday. When people are away from their homes, the president will declare a state of emergency. Well, in 2007, a movie called I Am Legend with Will Smith was released. And it's about a plague that kills most of humanity. And that happens on a holiday, specifically Christmas. And wouldn't you know it, that Christmas in 2020 is on a Friday. Right here. So you have, in 2016, 10 Cloverfield Lane talking about an attack on America taking place on a Friday. You have the same year, The X-Files, which has been proven to have accurate predictive programming, talking about a takeover America happening on a Friday. You have the same show, except for movie time this time, 20 years before that, saying that a plague to end all plagues, a big war, and then later it talks about it being taken over by FEMA. The country being taken over by FEMA will happen on a holiday. And then you have Will Smith's zombie plague movie, where the attack and the plague happens on Christmas. And this is all would be on a Friday in 2020, 4 days after the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. So that's going to be a big week regardless. I just think that's pretty incredible. On the 13th year of the completion of the Venus cycle, which is the planet that rules Friday. And this gives you a whole, and this, right, it will happen on a holiday when people are away from their homes. So you're either going to be trapped in a house full of, most likely, chances are, just because of the way statistics are, period, and just the way in my personal experience, you're going to be either the majority are going to either be trapped in a house full of people they hate, or you're going to be Macaulay Culkin Home Alone. Gives a whole new spin on that whole movie, right? And what it really meant. Makes you wonder, man. So, and I'd be looking at Fridays there's a lot of big ones coming up. Next Friday, 9/23, 11/23, the real 9/23 is on a Friday. March 22nd of next year is on 3/22 is on a Friday. A couple Friday the 13th. So those are watch days, period. But specifically Christmas 2020, man, makes you wonder. There's a lot. I feel like this is a whole lot of crazy things point to this. I feel like it's all right here. So we'll see, and it'll be here before we know it. And I'll post this as we get there in about, 2 years from now. But I just want to... All right, never mind. Thanks.